And then at the end, if you've got any questions, you can type them in the chat and we can try to answer any questions you have. Thanks very much for being here this evening. First, we'd like to introduce the tour moderators for each school. So I'm going to bring up this slide here. My name is Chris Schieffer. I'm the tour moderator at London, and this will be my 18th Washington, D.C. trip.
Andy Peterson, and this year will be my, oh geez, do I say it?
You can just say 25 plus, or what do you want to say?
Yeah, no, it's 30 now. This will be my 30th.
And Randy's at Holmes, right?
I'm at home. Sorry about that.
And I am Angie Schneider from Cooper, and this is, I think, year 25 for me. So it's been a while.
I think if we do the math collectively, we have all spent a year in Washington, D.C. Right? We kind of did that back, maybe. The tour moderators are the people who are responsible for promoting the trip, getting kids signed up, answering pre-trip questions. We also almost always attend the trip. And so if you've got any specific questions, those are the people you'd want to go to right at your building. So if your child's got a question, you could ask that. At the end of this, I'm going to bring up a slide that's got our email address on it as well. And that email goes right to us. We can answer those as well. We want to talk a little bit about our trip. The first is, why we go on this trip and why we do it in 8th grade. I went on my 8th grade trip. I know Ms. Schneider, Mr. Peterson, I think did too. And that's part of the reasons that we wanted to contribute our time and efforts to putting these trips together at our schools. The curricular connections, in 6th and 7th grade, students learn about the different forms of government and democracy. And in 8th grade, they learn about conflicts and wars. There's a big Holocaust unit in 4th grade and in 8th grade. And then, of course, the Constitution unit at the beginning of 8th grade. Kids learn about the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. And then when they get to actually see the documents and with the National Archives, it's really kind of a cool connection. So we make a lot of curricular connections to the stops that we make on the trip. What our trip includes, our trip is all inclusive. It includes all hotel accommodations. I'll go over kind of where we stay. We've stayed in the same hotel, I think, the last 12 years now. We're very happy with it. It's very safe and comfortable, clean. And we feel like we aren't looking for anything better because it really meets our needs. Round trip airfare. Every year we fly out of O'Hare. Most years we fly into Reagan. The only reason we'd fly into Dulles, and I'm exploring this year, Mr. Peterson, Ms. Schneider, or out back from Dulles, is possibly going to Udvar-Hazy. All the transportation when we're there are on luxury coach buses. That's the coach buses that they have Wi-Fi and outlets and big windows, and they're very safe, clean, and comfortable, and new. They're new buses. They're not like got a run down or anything like that. That's how we tour DC, and I like to say that you might say your kid, you might say, yeah, we're going to go to DC as a family. If I were to bring my family to DC, I would not have the same access that a coach bus does that drops you off at the front door of every museum and every thing that you want to see. When I brought my family, I'd have to find parking, and I'd have to use the metro, and I'd have to take Ubers and taxis. And so having a large group coach bus is very convenient to see everything on our trip. All meals are included. Kids are going to get cards for lunch. We usually go to a food court. The hotel breakfast is very good. And in the evening, we have a sit-down dinner at a nice restaurant where the kids can kind of socialize and have a nice dinner together. We talk about our day. It's really nice. All the attractions and activities, gratuities, fees, entry fees to anything is all included. The tour guide buses are included as well. And then all the safety and support. That includes insurance. That includes the night security at the hotels that we stay in. And any support if you have, when you're registering or on the trip, if you have issues, all the support that we get from the company that we work with. That company is called Greenlight Travel. And it's different. If you had kids who've gone before, they might have gone with Bright Spark or World Strides. This year, every year we look for the best deal for our trip. And we found that Greenlight had the best combination of affordability and meeting our needs. Plus, a lot of the people that we worked with previously moved to this company, so we have lots of relationships with people at Greenlight Travels. We're very excited to move and with this company. Okay? If you've got a question, you could type it in the chat. We can get to it, I think, at the end of the meeting and respond to those. But I'm going to keep going through here. And Ms. Schneider, Ms. Peterson, obviously, if I forget anything, please make sure you mention what I've forgotten. Here's a couple of the stops that we'll make on our trip. We stop at the Arlington National Cemetery. That's a big part of our second day. We have the opportunity to lay a wreath at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. That's an outstanding activity that some of our students at the schools will get to participate in to honor our fallen soldiers. The World War, the Marine Corps Memorial, also known as Iwo Jima. Sorry, my screen's being blocked by the screens here. On day 3, we take a tour of the U.S. Capitol. We see the Supreme Court and Library of Congress. It's a guided tour of the U.S. Capitol. It's very, very good. Also on day 2, we go to George Washington's Mount Vernon. We see Washington's old house, and we see where President Washington and his wife and family are buried. And sometimes we run into some famous Americans, and we ask them questions, and they can answer questions for us about their time period. It's really cool. There's a great museum here at this stop as well that the kids really enjoy. You think kids wouldn't like a museum, but I think they built this museum with kids in mind because there's lots of interactive things to do. We see all the memorials like Jefferson, Lincoln, MLK, FDR. We get to see where Martin Luther King gave his "I Have a Dream" speech. All the great spots that we know about, and then we see all the Smithsonian museums. We go to the Air and Space Museum, which just reopened. And if you're planning a trip to DC and you didn't know that you need a $1 ticket to get into the Air and Space Museum, your family's probably not going to get to go see it, because those are things that we plan months ahead and make sure we get our groups in. The National Museum of Natural History, we see the Museum of American History. The newest one is the Museum of African American History and Culture. That one also you need tickets for. So, a lot of things that we plan ahead of time to make sure we have access to. Another museum that we might get to is the other Air and Space Museum, Udvar Hazy, which has the space shuttle. I'll talk about that in a minute, but that's sometime we get to, sometimes we don't. The World War II Memorial, which is one of the newer memorials. We also do some great photos of the White House. They just opened, and we're going to go to this as well. I'm not sure if I mentioned Mr. Peterson, Ms. Schneider, but they have a White House visiting center that you can go and see some of the historical artifacts without having to schedule a whole tour of the White House with your congressperson. Okay? So that's something that we're going to add to our trip as well. A couple of the other Korean and Vietnam and Washington monuments that we get to see. The National Archives, I mentioned before. Students study the Constitution, and they get to see the Declaration of Independence, the Bill of Rights. And yes, just like in the movies, they lower it into the floor and it's in a bulletproof case, and the kids always ask about that and they learn about it and they don't believe it, but it's all true. The Pentagon Memorial is a very powerful memorial that we get to go see as well. Last time we were there, we met somebody who was working in the Pentagon that day, and the kids crowded around him. He told his story, and I had never heard it, and it was fascinating to me. And I asked him for some info. He gave me a document, and I learned so much just meeting that man that day. Another somber stop that we make that's another curricular connection is the Holocaust Museum. I know the kids in D21 sometimes go to the Skokie Holocaust Museum, which is a great museum, but this Holocaust Museum in DC blows it away. It's like so much more and so much more powerful. And so there's really no comparison. They did a great job showing the history of the Holocaust, and kids really come away with this stop with some very powerful memories. Every year in the last 5 years, we've been lucky enough to get to the bottom floor of the museum where the exit is, and they have Holocaust survivors sitting there telling their stories, and the kids are asking them about their stories and their life when they were young children. And so that's been really an awesome thing that we've noticed, and the Holocaust Museum is doing more and more of. We also have some other surprises. Ms. Schneider's gonna be mad at me because I might be giving away the surprise, but we found out the pandas are back at the National Zoo. They were gone for many years. We used to stop, go see the pandas, and then hop back on the bus. Well, we couldn't do that because the pandas went back, but Ling and I forget the other name, Mrs. Schneider knows all about the pandas. They're back. And so we
I love pandas. I love them. I love them.
Another thing that we definitely see is sports theater, where President Lincoln was assassinated, at Peterson House where he died. Udvar-Hazy Air and Space Museum I mentioned before, we sometimes get to, depending on where we fly in and out of. That's the Air and Space Museum that has the SR-71 Blackhawk, and it's got the space shuttle. We also have stopped at the National Cathedral, where Woodrow Wilson is buried. It's one of the top 5 largest cathedrals in the world, and learn a little bit about the architecture and what it has to do with Star Wars. Helen Keller is buried there, and lots of cool things in the National Cathedral. National Harbor we've been to, and I mentioned the White House Visitor Center, and then many more things. Ms. Schneider, Mr. Peterson, and I, after 50 years of traveling to DC, we know lots of things that hey, we've got an extra 20 minutes, we can go check this out right here. We've got all those things in our back pocket. We promise that we will have very little to no downtime in this trip, because we don't want there to be any downtime. We want to make sure kids are getting a good tour and you're getting your money's worth, and that we don't have kids sitting around doing nothing. Okay. And we also pride ourselves knowing that while an adult might spend 3 hours at the Museum of Natural History, we find that maybe 60 minutes is enough for an 8th grader to kind of get a sample. And then when they're older, come back and see the things they remember seeing. So we kind of know the times that work for 8th graders. Here's some more details for our trip. Like I said, nonstop flights. The hotel we stay in is the Spring Hill Suites Marriott out in Reston, Virginia. It's kind of like a little suburb of the DC area. We have 4 students per room. There are 4 sleeping places, 2 beds, a futon, and a pull-out sofa. So there's lots of space to sleep there. Students get to pick their own roommates. So we'll probably next November be asking kids to kind of formulate their ideas for roommates. If you want fewer than 4 kids to a room, you have that option, but you have to pay a little bit extra for that. So that's an option that you have. We have nighttime security guards for all student floors outside their rooms, making sure that no kids leave their rooms at night, and more importantly, nobody goes to their rooms to bother them. If there's some sort of emergency, we talk to the kids about calling the front desk or talking to the security guard, and then they wake up a tour moderator or chaperone to handle that. We don't want any hotel staff or security guards entering student rooms or anything like that. We want to handle it because we know the kids. Speaking of that, I'll go to the bottom line here. The chaperones we use are all teachers from Cooper, London, and Holmes. Every year we get lots of parents who'd like to volunteer for our trip. And while we love to bring as many parent volunteers as we have lots of teachers who love going on this trip. And we like taking teachers because we know they know the kids, and we know they know how to work with 8th graders. So that's something that we like to pride ourselves on, is that we get a lot of volunteer teachers who like to go on our trip. I mentioned the meals before. Every day they get a full hot hotel breakfast. They get meal money for food. This year it's $20 for lunch. You're going to get $20, spend whatever they want at the food court. If they spend 15, they keep the rest. Okay. And then like I mentioned, sit down dinner. I think this year we're doing blackfin grill. That's been really popular with the kids. And we also did silver diner. In the past, we've done Buca de Beppo. We've done like Mexican restaurants. So we'll finalize those details next school year and let the kids know where we're going. Okay. As far as transportation, you drop your kid off at London Middle School. We take Windy City limousine coach buses to O'Hare. And when we return, we take Windy City limousine back. And we are full transportation to and from London. You pick up your kid at London when the trip is over. As far as a meeting again, we'll meet again in February of next year, a couple of weeks before the trip, to give you your luggage tags and your carry-on things and information, more specific information about the trip. And one question that we get a lot is, does my child need a passport or a real ID or anything like that? And the answer is no. If you're under 16, you don't need any passport or license or identification. You're going to get a lanyard that signifies that you're part of our trip, and that's enough. And at security, they just kind of ask you your name and they ask for your ticket, and that's good enough for anybody under the age of 16. Have I forgot anything, Ms. Schneider, Mr. Peterson?
Nope, that's pretty good.
I don't know why there's a yellow line across the screen. I must have done that. I'm sorry about that. All this information is on the flyers that went home that have been maybe emailed to you. Those are our trip dates, February 14th and 16th. Apologies already to my wife that I will not be spending Valentine's Day with her. And the price, $15.99, is all inclusive. Like we said, there's the only money that we suggest kids bring is if they want to buy their own personal souvenirs. We always make a stop at a souvenir shop that's got sweatshirts and hats and stuff like that the kids like to buy. That's the only thing you'll need to send your kid with. If you send your kid with no money, they're going to be fed, they're going to have a great time, and they're going to have a great trip. So that's totally up to you about souvenirs. Our registration deadline is December 1st. But we already did one wait list, and we are very close to a second one. Due to the coach bus, we have to fill up the coach bus sizes. So while we'd love to take 120 kids, coach buses hold 50, and we can't put 20 kids on a coach bus. So once we get, I think the number is 103, we start our third wait list. And since I've been here, since I started in 2007, we've never had a second wait list for bus 3. So I just checked an hour ago, and we were at 101, which means we have 2 spots left until we start waitlisting. The wait list will be released once we get enough kids to fill a bus, or if somebody has to cancel or something like that, then they fill it with the wait list. And it's first comes, first served with the wait list. So whoever signs up first is the first on the wait list, and so on. Right? Last year we had 108 students registered, and we can only take 102 or something like that. Yeah, we had 6 students who wanted to go, but unfortunately they waited too long and they weren't able to go. You also have the option for full refund programs, an extra $170. And if you buy that, you can cancel your trip at any time up to 24 hours before the trip and get a refund. If you don't buy the refund and you cancel, you can get partial refunds, but it scales down by how close the trip is. If you're 180 days out, it's this much. If you're 90 days out, it's maybe 75% that you get, or 25% you get back, something like that. But if you pay for the $170 full refund program, you can cancel and get all your money back, less the $170, all the way up before the trip. Some parents like that peace of mind. If your kid gets sick a week before the trip, or 2 days before the trip, or great Aunt Sally passes away and you need to go to a funeral and you can't make it, then you bought that and you can get a refund. Some parents are like, I'm not buying the insurance. You're going. I'm paying for this, and you're going no matter what. So that's totally up to you. I'm going to leave this slide up as the last, and you can screenshot it or take a picture or whatever you'd like to do. But this has the info about the tour moderators at each school. It also has that email, 8thGradeWashingtonDC@gmail.com. If you email to that email, we will get that email and respond back to you. All the registration info for our trip is right there in the QR code, and there's our trip ID and our passcode. Okay? And so I just want to thank you for attending the meeting tonight. Ms. Schneider and Mr. Peterson can add anything, and if you've got a specific question, please type it in the chat. Ms. Schneider, Ms. Peterson, anything else?
I think you covered all the basics.
All right.
And let's start looking through some of these questions.
Okay, sounds good. I'll pull up the chat questions, but if you think you've got all your questions answered or you are good to go, I just want to thank you for attending, and you're welcome to drop out. I will check the chat here and we'll see what we got. Okay, let's go down to our first one. Yes, so there's an extra fee to be 3 in a room instead of 4, and each kid has to pay that fee. You can email and I can get specifics about that. Every once in a while, if we have an odd number of students traveling, then we can do 3 to a room for no charge. But that is only just kind of luck of the draw. If we have multiples of 4 traveling, 24 girls, then we have to have 6 rooms of 4. So if you are, if you want to do a upcharge for 3 or 2 to room, you can. Okay? If you register in a wait list, you stay on that wait list until we release it, and then it automatically puts you on the trip. So if you're waitlisted and we get extra space, you automatically get put on. I will share these slides. I'll share a link to the slideshow. I'll also share a link to the video of this whole thing. Okay? If there's any, oh yes, that's right. Thank you, Kathy. Program covers any additional expenses incurred if the trip gets delayed or meals or hotel stays are necessary. So if you pay for the insurance as well. Okay. I do know that companies normally, if a flight gets canceled and there's an extra day of hotel, a lot of times companies will incur that charge to make sure that kids are covered. Okay. I mentioned the spending money. Yep, that's up to you. Most kids bring enough for a sweatshirt and a hat or a little souvenirs, but they get money for food and everything like that. Sometimes kids bring money for snacks for the hotel room as well. We do make a stop at Target the first night so kids can get bottled water and chips and snacks and stuff for their trip. Okay? The what is the difference between this and the new tour company? Nothing. What I did with the newer tour company is I sent them last year's itinerary and I said, I want all of this. And they came back and said, here you go. You get all of this. Okay? Hotel I mentioned, that's the Spring Hill Suites. Parents, we will invite parents only if we don't have enough teacher volunteers. Okay. Code on the flyer and get into the meeting. Okay, let's see. There are no kids on the wait list right now. We have no wait list. All 101 kids are registered and they are traveling. Your son takes medication. We can do it either way. If you trust your child to take their own medication, you send it with them. Make sure it's in a labeled prescription bottle, just for TSA in the airport, and then we can either remind them to take it, or if you prefer that an adult carry it and give it to them, we can manage that too. But we always prefer that the students, if they can take their own, take their own. Yes, we kids bring their phones with them. We allow phones on our trip. Sometimes we need to, a lot of times it's set a timer on your phone. Meet back here in 1 hour, and that's helpful. So yes, we do allow phones on the trip. Okay. Yes, if it's a prescription medicine, it needs to be in the bottle. If it's your kid takes Advil because they get headaches or Tylenol, just send it in the packaging, or if it says Tylenol, and then on your health form that we'll have you fill out before the trip, you'll indicate that my child is allowed to take Advil or Tylenol or whatever over-the-counter medicine they take. Okay. Nope, no ID needed through airport checkpoints. No ID card, no passport, no real ID. They use their tour badge that we provide them as their identification.
Chris, do you want to talk about the ID, why they carry it, and the phone numbers on the back,
Sure.
and that they're never alone,
Yeah.
never traveling alone?
Our safety rules are nobody ever goes alone. Most of the time we travel as a group. All 100 of us are going to go together, and we're going to go to Mount Vernon's, President Washington's home, or we're going to go to the White House Visitor Center. Sometimes when we get to like a museum, kids have a option to go with a small group, go see the things they want to see. But our rule there is that you may not be alone. You always have to be with other people for safety reasons. If for any reason anybody gets separated, the badge they wear around their neck has a phone number on it. They can call that number and it gets in touch with the chaperones right away. We've only had that number, I think, used twice, and it was for very minor reasons, no major emergency. The packing weight limit for bags is we do not check bags. We ask kids to bring a carry-on size bag because we don't want to go to the baggage carousel. The airlines are United and American. Right now, our ratio of student to teacher is 15-1. So right now we have 8 teachers. If we get a wait list, 8 teachers for 100 students. If we get our wait list, then we will add more teachers. We deal with emergency situations the same way you would. We contact the parents. We have lots of resources in DC. We have lots of resources back here in Chicago if we need to contact somebody. So we have lots of support back here at home and at DC with a representative from the company who's at the hotel. So sometimes a kid has an earache and they need to go run out and get an ear medicine or something like that, prescription refilled. We have all of those resources and we can deal with those situations as well. Child gets sick on the tour. Last year we had a chaperone stay with them in a hotel room for a day because they were ill. And we take United and American are the airlines that we take. Okay, well, I'm going to say one more minute in case anybody has any other questions. Otherwise, I think our meeting is going to come to an end. Okay, well,
There was a
like I said,
question about weather in February. Wait, Chris, there's a question about weather in February. You know,
yes.
we
Go ahead,
always
Mr.
go over President's Weekend, and sometimes it's beautiful in 60. Sometimes it's, -10 with the wind chill. They'll have their coat, they'll have clothes. They need to make sure that they cover up and they dress for the weather. We'll talk about that in the meeting in February before we go about what they need to have. So they should be prepared. And a carry-on is good enough.
Yes, so we usually fly in our coach groups. So if bus one is London and bus two is like last year, bus one was London, bus two is Cooper and Holmes, and London flew out on United, and then Cooper and Holmes flew out on American. So you fly based on your coach bus. Yes, you're notified if you come off the wait list, and then you'll automatically be registered. You do have to pay your deposit to get put on the wait list, which is different from previous years, which I prefer because then you don't have to worry about contacting somebody else and say, oh, by the way, you're not on the wait list anymore, but you have to pay the deposit and register. Now, if to get on the wait list, pay your deposit, and then you're automatically added when space is available. Okay. All right, I'm going to share a copy of this meeting, and I'm going to share all the slides through an email to anybody who's registered. If you're not registered and you'd like a copy, you can email me. Space is available right now. We do not have a wait list. So you can sign up right now, but we don't know when space will be. If we start a wait list, we can't answer when it will be filled. It will be released when there are enough students are on the wait list. All right, there is a wait list. Okay. Well, we'll contact people when that wait list reaches a certain number. And hopefully, the more people that's on, we have until next year to fill this wait list. So we have Ms. Schneider, Mr. Peters, and I are thrilled with all the interest that we've had for this trip. We've never gotten to 100 students before they're 8th graders. So we hope to have enough to add a third bus. When we do, we will let the people on the wait list know and move them to the active registration. I'll send out if you have another question you think of, please, yes, I will do my best to communicate on Facebook by the parent pages. So if you're part of the parent pages for Cooper, Holmes, and Mr. Peterson, I think or the Holmes one, but Cooper and London, I'll keep updating that as well. Okay. So please email that 8th grade Washington, D.C. Email if you've got any other questions that we can answer. I feel like we might be getting cut off soon here. Well, here, let's see. I don't want to. Let's see. Okay. Yep, I imagine that people will be waitlisted until we get enough people to start a third bus. So I think it's probably going to be around 40. We need about 40 students waitlisted to release the third bus. Okay. Well, like I said, we have until. Ms. Bakari, will you email me so I can check on that? I didn't see anybody waitlisted as of an hour ago. An hour ago, we had 101 active students and nobody on the wait list. So send me an email and I can follow up with that. Okay. Yes, I will use social media for the trip. I think I've been asked to explore different mechanisms for using social media. So that's what I'm going to look into, Kathy. So thank you for reminding me of that. Yeah, we'll live update people on social media so they see how our trip is going and get some live photos. All right. Well, thanks everybody again for coming. I'll send this information out to everybody here, and we look forward to a great trip. If you've got any questions, contact your tour moderator at your school or email 8th grade Washington, D.C. @gmail.com. Thank you, Kathy. Thank you, everybody, for attending. Have a great week. I hope to get some kids signed up for waitlist 3. Bye-bye.
There we go.
Thanks, Mr. Peterson. Thanks, Ms. Schneider.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you all for coming.